Live. Everywhere. On netrootsradio.com. David Waldman. Kagro. In the morning. Now, here's David Waldman.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How you doing? It is Monday, February 9th, 2026. It feels like a Monday after all. I've just hit all the wrong buttons at all the wrong times. So, just an official Monday start here. And I guess I turned the volume down here somehow on the background track without being aware of it and without remembering exactly where it's supposed to be set. So I'll have to experiment with that one. In the next couple of days, I guess all the intros will be the wrong volume forever until I remember approximately where I should have this written down somehow, but I tinker with it all the time, and there's all sorts of ways to screw it up, so I found them all, and why not? What better time to do it than a Monday? We're coming back from I guess a less chaotic than usual Trump-era weekend. There was a lot of sports on TV, and the kind of sports events that you could plausibly charge people extra to come to visit you at Pervolago over this weekend. And so they did, having a Super Bowl watch party. Maybe, I don't know what the numbers were like in terms of the viewing. It was also Olympic opening weekend, and that's something I'm a little more excited to watch on TV, although I don't watch TV the same way that I used to. Now we've moved over into the streaming era, which means I don't know how to turn on the television anymore. So it's real exciting to be a grandparent and move into that. Pretty soon everything will be blinking 12 in my house, which is also exciting. It makes it look like a little bit of a disco or something. And I did manage to remember that the Super Bowl was on. I mean, really was disengaged from this one. Not teams that I particularly care about or care to watch, even no compelling story, no pop star that I was aware of who was dating any of the players or anything like that. The fun stuff that makes America watch football. And so I kept the Olympics on for a long time. And you can do that now because even if the event is over, if you're streaming everything, nothing is ever over. Anyway, so that kind of a day. And then when I finally remembered, I knew the Super Bowl was on, so I turned it on. But I think I'm used to maybe a later start. Maybe I'm wrong about that with the Super Bowl. Anyway, I finally remembered it was about halftime. Turned it on, and the big show was on that I knew that Donald Trump had been complaining about or getting ready to complain about for a week already. And what a spectacle. Looked like a fine halftime show to me. I don't know when the big tough football guys started pretending to care who was doing the halftime show, but apparently now it's a cultural complaint point. And they went ahead and did that. And in fact, conservatives decided to make a Conservapedia version, essentially, of the halftime show. This is something that conservatives do fairly frequently. Daily Kos got popular. We got to have a conservative Daily Kos. Poof, red state. Somebody funded it from out of nowhere. I don't know. And similarly, Wikipedia. It has a well-known liberal bias because it's based on fact and fact-checking. And but we'll have a Conservapedia, and we'll have a conservative YouTube, and we'll have a conservative, they originally thought they would have a conservative Twitter, and they built 6 of them, and then they just had a conservative guy buy the first one and turned that one into conservative as well. They've done this with 1,000 different things, GoFundMe, everything they've been kicked off of. And so now Super Bowl halftime shows, and I don't know. By the way, that didn't stop Donald Trump from raging about the one that he said he hated so much he would definitely not watch it. And they have cover for that now. Now you say, I didn't watch it, but I saw clips of it online, and here's what I think. But I did see video circulating, people, putting their Instagram stories and threads videos up of themselves hobnobbing at Pervolago, and by the way, you can see the televisions that were set up, and which halftime show were they watching at Pervolago? The Bad Bunny one. I don't know if they had the sound on, but anyway, terrific show, seemed fine to me. I didn't see anybody's clothes fall off like that happened like 50 years ago at one of those Super Bowls, and was that what popularized halftime shows? Probably not. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know where they came up with this idea that the halftime show is important to them, but It clearly wasn't. The show was fine. They put together this other one. I think they had Kid Rock do it, who's like 90 years old. And I saw somewhere that the early viewing numbers were dismal. I don't know where you even go to find that halftime show if I wanted to watch it to make fun of it. Where was it? I don't have channels anymore. It took me 15 minutes to find the Super Bowl as it is, which is weird because for weeks they've been, every time I turn on the streaming television, it would say nothing but Super Bowl. And then when I needed it, I guess because I missed the start, there was only one thing and I had to scroll forever to find it. And then if you thought I was going to change the channel to try to find Kid Rock, forget it. No way. So, all right. Well, lots of things did happen over the weekend. It just wasn't mostly about Donald Trump being a loudmouth or talking freely to the press, which is always great. We're always happy when it's relatively quiet, and it makes Greg's job that much easier, and his favorite way to come in on a Monday, disguised as a tub of Imperial margarine. Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Good morning. I can't believe it's not butter. So, I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I usually just watch clips. All I know is the good guys won and the bad guys lost. Why are the Patriots the bad guys? Because they're run by Robert Kraft, who's a Trump friend.
Yeah. And
so I was more than happy to see them lose, and the only part of it I watched was halftime. Now,
okay, yeah.
I have to tell you,
right.
The one thing I enjoy about the Super Bowl are the commercials, and not necessarily the commercials they show. I don't watch them. It's everybody says, "Hey, remember these commercials from years past?"
Oh, yeah.
Which are just like really good.
the good ones instead of the new bad ones.
So look, the Mean Joe Green Coca-Cola commercial is like top #1 for me. I just love it, and I forget all about it until once a year when it's time to show commercials, and then I watch that again and say, "This is just so good."
Yeah, well, there have been some classics. I don't know. Lately, they've been. I haven't enjoyed them nearly as much. Plus, they have this weird practice of blowing it. They're like, we spent $1 billion on this. We're going to show it for a couple days before.
Yeah.
And then it's not even a surprise. And now they have commercials about the commercials, which are
But I do have a clip to play for you.
Yes. Oh, all right. I'm ready.
That is to say, you have a clip to play for me.
Yeah.
Because I sent it to you.
I knew I had a
job
to do.
One has to push the buttons. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is. I can't play the whole Bad Bunny 30-minute thing. That would be a little bit of a copyright violation. To people who really are upset about copyright violations and won't even let you say Super Bowl without suing.
Oh, right. Oh, I guess it's their copyright, isn't it? All right.
Yeah. But this is just like a tiny excerpt, and I just want to discuss it a little bit after.
Okay. Can you? All right. C, let's try.
Wow.
Okay, it's a loud show.
Well, it's Monday morning. Wake up.
God bless America.
There we go. Oh.
Sea Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Bolivia, Perú, Ecuador, Brasil, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Panamá, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, México, Cuba, República Dominicana, Jamaica, Haití, las Antillas, United States,
Hey, there's
Canadá, and my motherland, mi patria, Puerto Rico.
Okay, you can cut it there.
Well, okay. It's about to cut.
He says, God bless America, then names every single country in the Americas. It's just wonderful. And he's got I think he had a football and it said, God bless America on it or something like that.
You're not supposed to be able to argue with that.
Right. Totally patriotic. He had Puerto Rico and American flags as part of the thing. Lady Gaga showed a guest appearance. An actual couple got married, really, not
Yes,
staged.
right. I saw that.
In the middle of it. And he symbolically presented his Grammy to the little 5-year-old, represented by an actor, who was snatched from Minnesota and sent to Texas. I mean, it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yeah. It was a great extravaganza. They give you a lot of time to do
they did a great job.
It was all over the place. And I saw that, I guess when it was over, they didn't want to be over. The performers, filed out, whatever. They're supposed to leave the field, and they did. They complied. They just complied. The police didn't have any reason to beat them up or anything. They went out in the parking lot, and they just continued the party there.
Well, that's what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dancing. That's just, that's all there is to it.
I know, too. And they were probably like, well, this is un-American. Having parties in the parking lot of a football game is crazy.
Yeah, where's the kegger?
Yeah. All right. Well, it
but
really upset them.
It was a wonderful
end.
day. And so, the MAGA just lost their mind because, it wasn't in English. And millions and millions of people watched it, and 14,000 people watched Kid Rock, make a fool of himself.
How do you watch it? Do you know where they? Was it a YouTube thing? What did they do
I don't know.
for Kid Rock?
Probably
I'm just curious.
YouTube, possibly, One Network Nation.
Oh yeah, right. That's right. That could be it. They would have donated the time. Right alongside the trend of having 15 different responses to the State of the Union address.
Yeah,
I guess this is another stupid idea.
Clear win for America and the Americas,
and
a clear loss for Trump on this. So go ahead, go fight the market. Go,
Yes.
Swing at windmills.
And here's,
shake your fist at clouds.
Oh yeah, right. Old men will do that. By the way, also huge win in the Super Bowl for cool people like us who want to. I saw an interview with the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks talking about how he's gotten hooked on the Merlin app, sitting in his backyard identifying birds.
Yeah,
and that his girlfriend apparently gave him quite a bit of grief about it, and then said, actually, I'd like to know which bird that is. And now they're all hooked on it. Now wherever I go, I run into, so it's the new dad bod is, have the dad app, Merlin, and check the birds wherever you go. So he won. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I do the picture of this one, but same idea.
Yes.
Take a picture of a bird and try to figure out what the heck you're looking at.
Yes. Well, Merlin will do that.
That's a bald eagle sitting in my front yard, which is true.
Oh yeah, in your front yard.
Bald eagle. Yeah, stop by and just hang out in a tree for a couple of 30 minutes.
All right.
And then we had an enormous.
And he spray painted hair on his head like Stephen Miller.
Yeah, it was much closer. It was right outside my kitchen window, sitting 1 foot away from me. But we had a red-shouldered hawk.
Well,
which when you're right next to it is about the size of a small dog.
You don't get a good look. It's
about the size of a medium-sized dog.
It's a small boulder the size of a large boulder.
Yeah. So it's a tremendous, and it was really upsetting the birds at my feeder.
I would imagine.
It was sitting there watching the feeder, and for some reason the little birds weren't there. I don't know where they went, but they just
the hawk was like
this guy sitting around.
I heard this place was a feeder.
How do you know what it is? How do I know it's a red-tailed hawk? Because you got this app on the phone that you take a picture and then you find out. So it's great.
Right. I heard this was a feeder.
So listen,
says the hawk.
Today is Monday. Do you know what that means? It means there was an election somewhere.
How can this be?
People are having, weird elections. We had this election. Where was it? Texas? Thursday?
Yeah.
No, New Jersey? Thursday?
No.
I don't even remember where it was.
But it was
in
Thursday.
New Jersey. And so...
Also Texas.
I made some inquiries, and the funny thing is, no one, all of the savvy political people that I know, and I know a lot of them after 20 years of doing this, none of them know why it was on a Thursday.
Yeah.
None of them.
I'm not sure. So it was a primary, right?
Yeah.
And I guess Thursday? They can do that anytime they want, but why did they want Thursday? That is an unusual. I don't know.
Right. And we're still not going to get the final result till next week. This week. I mean, Monday, Tuesday, this week we'll find out exactly who won. But it was going to be the Progressive. It looks like Malinowski lost. And anyway, this was a Saturday. Saturday is not that unusual. But there was a Saturday special election for Louisiana. Louisiana, Loozia.
Okay.
Louisiana, House District 60. Now, this was a Trump plus 13 district.
Oh.
Which was represented by a Democrat.
Yeah, this is...
Because you have
I didn't understand. It's crazy.
You have conservative Democrats then there, conservative Dems. The one that comes to mind is John Bell Edwards, who was the recent governor.
Okay, yes.
Right.
That rings a bell. British call him John Bell Edwards.
Yeah, not to confuse him with John Edwards.
No, that's completely different.
So John Bell Edwards,
his nickname
style Democrat.
Yeah.
whose name is not Chastity, it's Chasity, Chasity.
Chastity
Verrett Martinez.
All right.
Chastity Verrett Martinez, in this Democrat-held but Republican district.
That's going to mess me up.
What happened is the governor, the current governor, said, you know what? I can pick up this seat. It's a Trump plus 13 district. What I'll do is I'll make the Democrat who represents it an offer he can't refuse. I'll give him like a ton of money for a no-show job.
Those are good jobs.
And put him in like, Louisiana education or something. I'll find something for him.
That's a no-show job. You're right.
Right, and I'll just get him out of there, and we'll have a special election. The Republican will win, and then I get one more seat who's going to do my bidding.
Yeah, I mean,
so they orchestrated.
But yeah,
this.
Sure.
It was planned by them.
Good plan.
And what happened is that the Republican who was put in there wasn't all that popular, and the conservative John Bel Edwards style Chastity Verrett Martinez gets 62% of the vote.
Wow.
Brad Daigle, the Republican, gets 38. That's a 37-point swing from the Trump plus 13.
That's an underperformance, fellows.
In Louisiana.
Yeah. So
that ranks as one of the great overperformances. Mm-hmm. In fact, what we have here, January 31st, Texas SD9, 31.8 swing. We were all talking about that. In Alabama, they went for the Republican. That was a 27-point swing in Trump's favor. The 3 New York races were essentially a wash, 12.5% for a Democrat, 2.5% swing for a Republican, 1.1 swing for a Democrat. So it was basically status quo. And then and the Democrats won all of those.
All right. Are they going to give Chastity a job?
We get Louisiana, and that's 37.2, and that looks to be the winner chicken dinner, biggest swing so far in 2026.
That is unexpected, to say the least. And, good play, I guess, by the governor. Duh. Emptying that seat. I don't know whether he has anything left to give to Chastity and wants to try again, or she's just going to stick around for the balance of the... I imagine she'll fill this term and just at least finish this one.
Right.
All right.
So, independents and less partisan Republicans...
Yeah.
Who my polling friend John Covalon from the great state of Louisiana says his polling showed 20% defection to the Democrat from less partisan Republicans and independents.
All right, not just stay home, but actually go out and defect.
Yeah, so that was really nice. Other news before we get to the big news, whatever big news is this is from Adweek. Week of January 26th, evening news ratings, World News Tonight, that's ABC, David Muir. And Nightly News with Tom Yamas.
Okay.
ABC World News Tonight
Thomas Yamas.
And NBC Nightly News closed out the final week of January on an upswing with both growing in total viewers and the ever-important adult 25 to 54 demo.
Not really.
These are the people that watch the Super Bowl and buy things. That's why it's an important demo.
Yeah, they're not news watchers, but they are important.
For World News Tonight, this past week was its most watched in over 3 years, with the newscast averaging over 9 million across 4 days, Monday through Thursday. That's when they do their rating sweeps. Nightly News is making things interesting, with 142,000 viewers separating it from World News Tonight. Both newscasts finished the week averaging over 1 million demo viewers, the important ones.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, CBS Evening News with Tony Ducopel was the only evening broadcast to register across-the-board declines, going down like 10% across the board.
Womp.
So nobody is buying the Tony Ducopel MAGA CBS News. It's not news. It's propaganda. It's garbage.
Right.
And when I say propaganda, I do not mean, and this is what Fox News does insidiously, it's not that it's turned into The Five on Fox where all they do is talk about how sucky Biden is. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
What I'm saying is they simply don't tell you bad news for Trump. They just don't cover it.
They leave it out.
They leave it out. And so that's how they mislead their viewers. And it's insidious because, what did we say? Everything we said was good. Okay, we had a couple of feel-good stories. You don't like that? Well, what's your problem? This is America, That's not the problem. The problem is everybody hates ICE. And Trump is a fascist, and he's throwing people from 5-year-olds from Minnesota to Texas, and people are rejecting it, and the polls say he sucks. None of that gets covered. None of it. That's the problem.
Yeah. You have to let people who are only tangentially engaged, but understand that it's important to watch the news, sort of, to be an adult.
Well, this is exactly the audience you want to reach with, dare I say it, news.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's, I guess, it's valuable to the people who do the ratings because they buy things. It's valuable to the rest of us because it's nice to have a country with smart people in it that does good things.
Educated people. You can't smarten people by watching the news, but you can educate them.
I can't and smarten them.
Yeah, I can't. Nah.
Okay. Nah. CBS. By the way, I did see that. NBC, I guess, had the exclusive franchise in this because Olympics. But yes, JD Vance and Usha Vance showed up at the Olympics, a normal activity for, if not heads of state, then substitutes for busy heads of state or tired and disoriented heads of state, and was, as they said, roundly booed. I don't know how else you get booed, but it seems to be always roundly. But although JD Vance does everything roundly, so I'm not sure it was spectacular in that sense. But he was roundly booed, and NBC, in their delayed rebroadcast for American audiences in the evening, apparently edited out the sound of the boos from the crowd. And so the crowd, by the way,
it's the stuff they don't
NBC.
Tell you. It's not that what they showed was wrong.
That's the point.
It's the stuff they don't tell you.
Yeah. So the crowd now should sue them for $10 billion for doctoring the tape like Trump did with CBS and 60 Minutes.
So,
right. But apparently you can't bring that you can't get classified. You can't get recognized as a class action. Foreign, overseas.
But the funny thing is
yes,
that all this stuff gets carried online, streaming, this, that, and everything else.
Right, true.
NBC
That's where most people get their news anyway.
People, everyone knows he was booed.
Yeah. Although he thinks they were saying boo earns. That's true.
Yeah. They were saying Boog Powell. Boog!
Yeah. The Olympic cauldron boo earns, sir. Sure, yeah, right. Whatever.
Yeah, right.
So whatever. He had a lousy time there. That's fine. And as we point out, NBC News for the real oldsters who watched the delayed version of the opening ceremonies rather than streaming it live at 2 p.m. Eastern time or catching the clip online where everybody else said, listen to the boos that NBC edited out. Now everybody thinks they're getting inside scoop. Probably, 10, 20, 30 times more people watching the online clips than the official broadcast from NBC.
Right.
Fine. Good. All right. Nothing else, though, right? That'll conclude the day?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Look, we've been telling you Trump is losing it with the public. And this is a nice piece from a Substack vertical called The Intellectualist. It has intellectual kind of
ist, not est.
And this one is, the public has reached a breaking point with Trump's presidency. 3 independent national polls are converging on the same verdict, that Trump has lost majority public consent on the issues meant to define his presidency. And I mention that because this is something we're talking about. So listen to this. President Trump's standing with the American public has settled into a familiar but increasingly rigid shape by February 2026. Why is rigid important? Like roundly, rigid has meaning, and the meaning is like you're going to get your ass kicked in November. Oh. Across 3 independent national polls conducted within days of one another, NPR, PBS Marist, Economist YouGov, Quinnipiac, his job approval remains stalled in the high 30s to around 40%. High 30s to 40, 37 to 40%. We talked about this last week. You won't see that if you look at the aggregates, because the aggregates throw in insider advantage and a bunch of garbage polls to make sure that Trump's always at 43, which is bad enough. But he's actually in the high 30s with real
That's
polls.
What we usually
While
end
the
up hearing.
precise figures vary slightly depending on methodology and sample, the convergence in the signal Trump remains underwater nationally, deeply unpopular among Democrats. We know that's true. Losing independents by wide margins. That's really the news. They're the ones that decide elections. Mm-hmm. And sustained politically almost entirely by still loyal Republican base, according to all three instruments. Overall approval, 37-40. Overall disapproval, 54-56. Independents disapprove, 60-65. Approval on the economy stuck, 36-39. Approve on immigration, 38. People are as unhappy on his immigration policy as they are on the economy. Wow, ICE has gone too far, 65. ICE makes the country less safe, 60. Republicans who still approve, 80-85. That means he's losing 15-20%. What happens when that happens? See Louisiana. The Marist poll finds 39% approve of the job, while 56% disapprove. Economists approval of 40. They form a coherent snapshot of a presidency that has not been able to broaden its appeal behind its core coalition. We know that. We've been saying that. As measured in these polls, even as it continues to press aggressively on the issues meant to define it, but people hate what they're doing.
Yeah. That's a problem.
Well, I'll just double down on what you hate, and let's just hope that turns it around for us in the November elections coming up.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, are existential, because if the Democrats take the House, let alone the Senate, which they now have a good chance to do, then you're going to impeach me.
Yes. And probably...
And certainly you're going to impeach my cabinet, and certainly you're going to do investigations even if you can't sustain the impeachment in the Senate. So this is really important, and so I'm going to impound voting machines and just make all sorts of trouble. And my friend Steve Bannon says there's going to be ICE agents at the polls to make sure Hispanics don't vote, because look what happened in Texas, and look what happened in Louisiana, and look what happened in all these places.
Yeah, you know.
And so I can't have this.
I guess not. That did bring up a good point, though. I did see somebody over the weekend saying, I know everybody is worried about ICE being at all the polls, but, like, why aren't they doing that now? They're getting their asses kicked left and right in special elections. And you know, those are targeted and they only happen at one place. They couldn't put ICE at those polls. Maybe they don't have the ability to put ICE anywhere. Although apparently ICE was sent overseas to the Olympics. I mean, I know they use ICE there, but not that kind. And I don't know. No one knows what the hell they're supposed to be doing there. I don't know if they really exist.
Hi, I'm Scott Anderson, the guy that writes the daily summary for this show, Kagro in the Morning. Thank you to everyone that supports this show. Many of you send donations through PayPal, Patreon, Square Cash, Radio Public, and so on. Some of you write your own essays and send them in, or read articles with your own commentary. We appreciate it. Now, some of you are listening to this and thinking, I'd like to help, but isn't there something I could do that wouldn't require money or effort? Why, yes, there is. You can just like us. On Daily Kos, they call it the recommend button. YouTube has a thumbs up. There are hearts and likes and love buttons. Tap our love button. Tap our love button every day. Share our shows and summaries on Facebook and Twitter, YouTube and iTunes, Stitcher and Amazon. Most of these places allow you to write a review, so a sentence or two would be great. Recommend us to social media, or tell your friends to listen to the show. You aren't just helping us, you're helping them find their new favorite thing to listen to. You could change the world. So thank you in advance from me and everybody else in the world.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. It's time to find out what the hell's going on. Greg remembered that he had a question. I don't know if that's where you want to start.
Yeah, so listen, right. The Democrats right now
I remembered I had a show.
To negotiate with Republicans who have agreed to negotiate with Democrats over the Department of Homeland Security and Kristi
Widespread
Noem.
agreement.
It's they haven't agreed on anything about it other than they agree to chat.
So far, that's, I guess, agreeing to disagree, but they're not even there. We'll agree to see what we have to talk about and then disagree about it later.
Funding runs out.
Yes, a new government
Democrats
shutdown.
said, look, you guys got to make reforms. Republicans say those reforms are dead on arrival because you're asking us to do things. Make it legal, get rid of their masks, do all this sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it's true that Democrats want all of the ICE people to have body cams. Right now they have them, and even when they do have them, they don't turn them on, and even when they do turn them on, they shoot people anyway, so it's not clear what that means. But having them take off their masks and identify themselves as a BFD, and so that's part of it. And what do you do with DHS? In other words, what's in DHS now, FEMA, which is non-functional because everything has to be approved by Kristi Noem. She doesn't approve anything. Just ask North Carolina after their recent hurricane. They still haven't gotten aid, and kids and people who don't have homes are getting kicked out of FEMA housing. But also TSA, which screens you at airports. My point is, what happens if the Democrats keep a hard line and say, I don't care if you don't fund it. You guys suck. I don't care if you go away. What happens?
Well,
how does that work?
Not that much, or at least not much with ICE.
Not much with ICE, but what about the rest of the DHS?
Well, they would
the rest
close.
of Kristi Noem's job?
No, well, she's not doing it anyway. But yeah, it would shut down the funding for DHS. Like we said, runs out, I guess, this Friday evening. So midnight Friday, Saturday morning. It was just a 2-week extension. They could do it again if they really think they're going to get anywhere, but it might be worth trying to, leverage things by shutting it down again. But everybody but ICE and I guess Border Patrol, I don't know who else got money in that stupidly named One Big Beautiful Bill, but they don't need any more money, which is interesting because the Republicans are like, well, you'll shut down all this stuff. And, Democrats say, oh no, ICE, they'll shut down. Oh no, they won't. We fooled you. They've got plenty of money. All right, so then what's your problem? I think maybe one approach would be to say, well, I guess you think you're putting us over a barrel by saying that this would shut down TSA, FEMA, and the Coast Guard. I'll tell you what. Here's a FEMA, Coast Guard, TSA funding bill. We'll just take ICE out of it. And we could do a CR that way or do a substitute DHS bill and say, you say you have plenty of money for ICE? Fantastic. Fabulous. I would like to rescind that money, but in this bill, there will be money for everybody else and zero for ICE. Certainly not if you're not going to agree to any of our demands and reforms. It's just this number is going to stay zero. And I don't really know what the Republican objection to that would be.
Well, you can't do that. These things are going to
give us money. Yeah.
Oh, what are you using the money for? Building camps? Let's discuss that on national TV.
Yeah. So I don't know whether they're going to even bother making an offer necessarily, but that would be one direction that they could go is just say there's nothing that says you have to have money for everything that's authorized in an appropriations bill. I'm just not going to fund ICE. Sorry. No. And you don't even need it anyway. That's actually another good reason not to fund them. Why would ICE fund them if they're already funded? That would be waste, fraud, and abuse.
Uh-huh.
So I don't really know. No word yet on what Democrats plan to offer, or maybe the plan to say it's only a week, don't offer anything. See what they come to us with. If they don't have any ideas, they're the ones supposed to be governing. They have a majority in both houses. And that may be the approach as well. They might just be saying that. And we should have some ideas in our back pocket if we end up having to shut it down again and people start getting mad. But they probably won't because the great bulk of the public understands this to be about ICE, and they're mad about ICE. They don't like it.
Right. So I'm just unclear as to what's going to happen. Another area where I'm unclear is what's going to happen.
Some things. Yeah.
Is one of our favorite great states of the United States, which is the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Yes. I like it. You want to come here?
Now, Virginia passed a redistricting bill which may wind up possibly
yes,
with a 10-1 Democratic advantage instead of the near split it has now. And apparently, Republicans are upset about it.
I don't know why. They got one.
Get your sensor horn ready.
Oh dear, oh goodness. Okay. Sure. I'll use this.
So Ted Cruz says, a brazen abuse of power and an insult to democracy. 47% of Virginia voted Trump. They will now get 9% of the seats. 52% of Virginia voters voted Harris. They get 91% of the seats. By comparison, in Texas, 56 voted Trump. GOP gets 79. So everything that Texas did is fine. It's Virginia that's the problem.
Yeah.
L. Louise Lucas.
I am ready to censor now.
State senator.
Good. Yeah.
Saw that tweet and tweeted back, you all started it and we fucking finished
it. Oh, he missed it. I knew it. Oh, Here's a sound effect I should have been using. Yeah, she could have gone with...
Bye, Felicia!
Had to grab
and that's
that
all
one.
good, and it's fun,
Yeah.
and it's theater, and she's right,
Yeah.
and she's a force, and she got it done,
She
and
did.
everybody's happy about it if you're a Democrat. Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not done yet.
Right.
Not only do voters have to vote on it, and that it would probably win should it come to
That would be
vote.
me. I'm going to vote on it. Yep.
The Virginia Supreme Court, or its equivalent, has to say it's okay. And it's a 50-50 proposition that they will.
You guys, it should be okay.
Okay, well, that settles it, but
Yep.
not for them. So, before people start hatcheting their counts before they chicken, it's got to pass the Supreme Court before
Yes.
Louise Lucas gets to say that in capital.
An important dynamic in all of that. And what was also interesting, I understand that there was some side-by-side comparison of the product of the... Does everybody remember the Washington Post? It was a newspaper that died this past week. But when they were functioning, and then a little bit after they were not functioning, the two side-by-side editorials, one about the Texas redistricting, which the editorial was the great Texas redistricting freakout. Everybody calm down. This doesn't mean the death of democracy. What's wrong with you guys? Right. And then, now that was, it should be pointed out, the Texas state legislature saying, we will be the final word on this. Here is your new redistricting. That's all there is to it. Nobody else has any input in any of this, unless I guess you can get a federal judge to overturn it. And so far they haven't. The latest editorial from the Washington Post editorial board about the Virginia redistricting is, oh my God, this is so undemocratic. It's horrific. It's a huge abuse of power, hypocrisy, unbelievable. The Democrats just cannot be trusted. Meanwhile, as you pointed out, this measure passed in the state legislature in Virginia empowers the election mechanism to put this on the ballot as a referendum. People will have to vote on whether or not to accept this plan under which they redistricted to 10-1. I think we're talking about possibly a constitutional amendment allowing for this redistricting to take place between the decades, essentially. So, in Texas, just fiat redistricting, that's okay, and it's crazy for you to freak out about it. In Virginia, well, people, what do you think? Are you willing to accept this or are you not? That's anti-democratic in the view of the new Washington Post editorial board. And by the way, they have a new publisher because the guy who was brought in from the tabloids and fired everybody quit over the weekend as well.
Well, yeah, he was at the Super Bowl instead of at his job, and people got really upset about that. And the funny thing is, I'm sending you a screenshot, which is basically Google looking at the news.
Okay.
All right, and let me go over this with you.
Google
Top
looking
stories.
at the news. I see. All right.
Washington Post CEO Will Lewis steps down after layoffs. Story from the New York Times, story from CNN, story from Facebook, story from The Atlantic, story from Financial Times, story from BBC, story from NPR. You know what's not there? A story from the Washington Post, who, like NBC and CBS and the other things, just decides not to tell you the news when it's not good for them.
Guess not.
That's what you mean about this paper died.
Situation, yes. And people, by the way, so I think a lot of the remaining subscriber base, it was really interesting. They decided to kill off the
remaining
sports
subscriber base. I get, my news for the pundit roundups.
Right. But even like locally, the people who loved it as a sports coverage.
Sports and Metro.
Apparently, somebody offered a group of wealthy investors locally, I think, offered to spin that stuff off and buy it and allow for a continuation of sports coverage in Washington, D.C. And I guess they rejected that offer, the ownership of the Washington Post, which was just interesting to find out. I found out over the weekend that there is something that Jeff Bezos won't sell. You can't just hit the buy now button on it and get it. He's apparently in the business of selling everything on the planet to anybody who wants it.
There should be a buy now. Only one left. That kind of thing. We have one, but there's
I don't understand why they couldn't do this.
And he won't do it.
Right? I'm losing money. Well, first of all, who cares about you losing money? And second of all, if you are, then sell it to somebody who wants it anyway. No.
I think cartoonist Adam Zeigler had a cartoon of Jeff Bezos on his all fours wagging his tail with the Washington Post in his mouth and a hand that looked like Trump petting him and saying, "Good boy."
Yeah.
And so the whole idea here is that this is all... I need stuff from the government, and I'm as crooked as they come, and I'm not rich enough because who is ever rich enough? And so I need stuff from Trump, and therefore I will suck up for whatever I need to do. Me, like every other CEO in the country who's abandoned anything like a facade of caring for the community, I just want to make money. And so that's all that matters. And, it's just horrible.
Yeah.
So that's it. Ordinary people stand up in Minnesota. People like Jeff Bezos, who actually have power, get down on their knees and put the newspaper in their mouth and hand it to Trump like a toy.
Well,
pet me, I'm a good boy.
Yeah. So too bad about that. I don't know where people are going to get their coverage of Washington D.C. sports. Although I guess
they're going to get it from the Philadelphia Inquirer, which is an excellent paper, and they're going to get it probably
Baltimore Sun,
the Baltimore Banner,
Sun. I mean, the Baltimore Banner. Oh, yeah, right. That's the alternative,
the good
startup
paper.
One. Yeah, right. I think didn't they basically did that. I think there were lots of layoffs at the Baltimore Sun, and they just reorganized and said, let's all get together and have our own newspaper. Since now you don't actually have to print the thing.
Yep.
Let's try it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. And somebody offered that. They tried to do the same thing with an organized purchase, but they may end up just having the same thing with a disorganized non-purchase. I suppose they can all just get together and say, you all want to have I wouldn't recommend Substack be the place to start, but why not?
Right.
And with so many personnel, I mean, we've gotten used to our favorite writers moving around quite a lot, and then you just say, well, I don't really know. I don't have to know where they publish. They'll just send me the links of their articles, and I'll read it that way.
Right.
I follow them on social media.
From the Atlantic, the murder of the Washington Post. Today's layoffs are the latest attempts to kill what makes the paper special. I don't know.
I'm not sure what it was, but
what it was. The Post may yet rise, but it'll be their enduring legacy to watch what Bezos is doing to him.
Yeah.
So, executive editor Matt Murray is still there. Will Lewis is not.
Okay. I don't know that guy.
Will Lewis has earned a reputation for showing up late to work when he showed up at all. He didn't join the Zoom meeting. He was out watching the Super Bowl. He's gone. And he was absolutely fired because he was telling people he expects to be there for 7 or 8 years.
Is that right?
Because that's how long it's going to take to turn around the Post.
Or maybe he realized that it was no turning it around. I'm not sure, but wouldn't be surprised if he was fired, especially if he's just never showing up for work.
Yeah.
The big all hands meeting where they announced all the layoffs. It was a Zoom meeting. He didn't show up.
Right. Couldn't bother.
Yeah. Okay. But he was apparently on the red carpet.
He did his job. He ruined the paper. Now he's fired. So that's not totally unknown in corporate world.
Right. We all have that happen to us actually.
Right. So I'm going to finish because it's Monday, and somehow or other Mondays always wind up having all this news, and you summarize it in 20 minutes, and now what do we do? So this is from the European Council on Foreign Relations, and it's called One Battle After Another, Factional Struggles and the Making of Trump's Foreign Policy, and it's really interesting.
Policy. Yeah, that is an interesting word to use.
The whole idea is Trump has no philosophy.
Right.
He likes headline-grabbing wins.
Mm-hmm.
So he also likes competing factions in whatever he runs so that he can be the decider and everybody has to come to him and beg.
Yes.
So he's dismantled the interagency process that decides policy before it gets to him. The defense and security policy is basically whoever gets his ear last sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make decisions in any rational fashion. So they go ahead and describe some of the factions. And, it's really kind of an interesting read. So here's how it goes. There's 3 factions.
All right.
Primacists, restrainers, and prioritizers.
Hmm.
Primacists Marco Rubio. U.S. has the most power. We need to do whatever we need to do. Venezuela, we don't
USA.
like you. You're out. Right. USA, Cuba, you're next. Primacist. That's Marco Rubio and his faction.
Okay.
Restrainers are the old Marjorie Taylor Greene MAGA line. No foreign wars, no involvement, don't do anything, leave us alone. Why are we even involved in Ukraine? Let's pull back. And then a subgroup of that, which usually acts with them, but isn't the same thing. It's like a coalition government in Europe. The big party and the little party, but together they have the majority, that kind of thing. In addition to the restrainers are the prioritizers. They're the smallest and weakest of the factions. The prioritizers are, let's concentrate on China, forget about Soviet Union, Russia,
who now?
Whatever, Putin. He can do whatever he wants. We don't have the bandwidth to do everything. Let's just concentrate on what's important to us. So JD Vance is the head of the restrainer prioritizer faction coalition. And Rubio is head of the primacist coalition. Right now, Rubio's winning the argument over Vance most of the time. Pete Hegseth is unaligned because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Okay.
Right? Eldridge Colby, who's the Undersecretary of War for Policy, is a prioritizer.
All right.
Let's just concentrate on China, this kind of thing. Let's figure out what's going on to Chinese invasion of Taiwan, that kind of thing. So he's old-fashioned policy.
Normal.
Nobody listens to him.
Okay.
And then Tulsi Gabbard, who's director of DNI, is a restrainer. Don't do anything. Don't touch anything. Stay out of Ukraine. Stay out of everything. America first. Fortress America. Leave us alone. Non-interventionism. Military disengagement. Opposition to global leadership. That's Tulsi Gabbard. So
that's
these 4 or 5
description.
people, Vance, Rubio, Hegseth, Colby, and Gabbard, are basically Trump's foreign policy group. And they just jockey for position. And what they try to do is, like Marco Rubio, let's set up Venezuela for a quick 48-hour win. You'll look good on TV.
Yeah.
No reason not to do it. And if I can show you that it works in Venezuela, maybe I'll do the same thing to Cuba. And so I'm pushing this. And Trump says, okay, sounds good. I like short wars. I like, if I can get a war done in 48 hours, then that's the Nobel Peace Prize right there.
Yeah, right. That's true. If you can't actually make peace and end a war, just do very short wars. I'm sure they'll be happy
not that
about
many
that.
people get killed, and that's my claim for
there you
Nobel
go.
Peace Prize.
Peace. It's almost peace.
Honestly, that's what he thinks.
That could be true. Yeah. I don't know.
Vance and the Get Out of Ukraine people are having a much tougher slog because this Europe pulling them back. Well, he hates Europe because they keep telling him that what I want to do, you can't do. And Vance is absolutely a white nationalist Nazi, and supports everything that Stephen Miller is doing. Stephen Miller isn't even on this list because Stephen Miller's mostly national rather than international policy, so he's not in here.
Yeah,
but,
all right.
That's the Vance camp, and it's just bad. Everything that camp does is bad.
This one time
everything
at Vance
that Rubio
camp
does is mostly bad, and so you're left with no good choices, and it's awful.
Okay. All right, I guess that's a camp.
So because there's no policy, you get people sneaking in here, like Kushner and Witkoff, trying to make a deal for Gaza for real estate, or make a deal for Russia, which has been completely rejected, or do this, or make a deal for Iran, which has been completely rejected. And so, Trump has all these decisions, and Witkoff and Kushner, who have access, have to come to him and say, look, push this because it's a big win, you'll look great. And that's Europe's new understanding of how you have to deal with Trump. You have to go through one of these factions. You have to convince the faction to take your side. You have to convince Trump it'll make him look good. And there's no such thing as the old, international alliance. Doesn't exist anymore.
I was going to say, rather than put her in her own camp, maybe Tulsi Gabbard, until you started talking about the deals that they were trying to make, when you were talking about Witkoff and Kushner just being sort of from out of left field and there's no real reason for them to be involved, I kind of felt like she was in that camp just in terms of undermining everything and not following the normal rules. But then they're produced. I mean, they're terrible deals, and if they are deals, terrible ideas. And she's not even producing any of those. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I even have a camp for her. I think she's in the Putin camp. That's just like, well, there's also another side to our foreign policy. It's called our opposition, and she's actually kind of there in that camp, rather than. I never really viewed her as an isolationist so much as sand in the gears. If Putin wanted there not to be an effective American policy, he would, she would take that as a cue. All right, well, it's not that I don't want to be an interventionist. It's that I just don't want anybody doing anything that works here in America, because I don't know why. She's crazy. But she's found a role for herself domestically now in trying to help Trump prove that the 2020 election was stolen, which doesn't have anything to do with her job description. But I guess, what are you going to... That, too. I think we were speculating on that last week about whether or not she had showed up to try to ingratiate herself to Trump. But then by the end of the week, the story was Trump had ordered her to go. And then when that says, like, oh, wait a minute, actually, that's actually highly corrupt. All right, well, then Pam Bondi actually, both of them ordered me to go. They contradicted themselves 3 or 4 times. They have several different stories about how she got there. So, I don't know. I don't know whether she's a camp or not, or she's just the other side. It's something to consider. But yes.
Anyway, there it is.
Right.
So
okay.
I'm done. That's all I have.
Many deals. Okay, that seems like a fair amount.
Oh, there's more Epstein stuff coming up.
Yes.
Got to mention that. Oh, yeah. Maybe not here, maybe in Europe. But the Epstein files may take down Keir Starmer.
Yeah, I don't understand really how it ended up having more of an impact in Europe.
The economy isn't doing well. Then it turns out his most closest trusted advisor, his Karl Rove, was involved with Epstein and is now out and has had to resign.
That's the difference.
The question is that going to hit Starmer? And will Starmer, who is already unpopular, also be forced to resign?
I don't know. I mean, it's a totally different system there. Here, for instance, a guy who's totally unpopular turned out to also be very much tied up with Epstein, and now all of his advisors also turn out to be tied up with Epstein, but nobody cares. Or at least they don't care.
That's Howard Lutnick, Treasury Secretary. But, all I'm saying is that the Epstein file news is not going away because it's having repercussions. And the more you try to bury it and hide it, the more the actual victims get really upset and start talking about it more. This is, again, a story that simply just never goes away.
Yeah. The weekend development for Lutnick was already underway. The play was in motion before the end of the week, but I don't know. Lutnick, I guess, I'm sure, thought it would be something that might work. I don't know whether he thought that the files would never come out. He could be forgiven for believing they would just bury them forever, I guess. I never had any contact with them. They were neighbors in New York, and it was documented that they at least had one visitation over to the Epstein mansion. But then his story for years was, after 2006, I went there one time to his house, and he was so gross and weird that I vowed never to be in the same room with that disgusting person ever again.
Who's a neighbor of mine.
Yeah, right. I mean, you can do that. I think probably Rand Paul's neighbor felt that way and, actually stood his ground about it, too. In fact, went over and stood some of Rand Paul's ground as well. So it does happen with neighbors and weirdo Republicans. But, anyway, so as it turns out, not so much. And then many, many years, I guess 5 years after saying he would never be in the same room with that disgusting person, the email, not only am I coming over to your place, but I'm coming over to the other place. I'd like to visit you on your pervert island and bring my children, and here's the menu of how old they are, which was...
Now, if that were Europe, that would take him down, but here in the U.S., as you pointed out, it doesn't.
Right.
What's interesting
there
also
was more
is Thomas Massie is now calling for this guy's resignation. and says that if you don't resign and if those names aren't out there, I'll check with the victims, but if they want me to, I'm naming the rich and famous.
All right.
I'll do it on the floor of Congress.
That would be exciting. I'm for that.
That's in the works. So again, this Epstein story not going away.
No. And there was more Lutnick over the weekend then too. So in addition to, I went to your pervert island, it turns out that in 2014, so that's 3 years after he goes to the island, he's going into business with Epstein. They're signing contracts, they're buying things together. I don't know how close the relationship was, but yeah, it's going to hurt when after 2006 he was so disgusting I wouldn't be anywhere near him except investing with him and bringing my children to his pervert island. You definitely don't want to show up in there even once with, I'm coming to your island. But if you're going to be in there, don't also say, and do you have any booster seats, right? Like, do you have chicken nuggets for my kids? Wow. That's not going to be good. And of course, as well, we're going to fleece some people in business together, too. How awesome is that? Anyway, it's just a huge mess for Lutnick. I found it interesting that he narrowly avoided disaster on 9/11, very famous for that, and then just walking straight into the teeth of disaster with a weirdo pervert next door who, at some point, he realized he should have nothing to do with him, and he can't avoid this disaster. All right. Well, too bad. Good on you, Europe, for jettisoning your weirdos who hang around with the pedophile guy. We have a lot of catching up to. We're provincials, That's the way it is with history. Europe leads the way, and we eventually catch up. I hope. Okay. Well, that's quite a lot, and I have more, and we're almost at our break, but not quite. So if you think of anything else, let me know. Either blurt it out before we get to the music or whatever, but otherwise you can message me behind the scenes. All right, and what was this? This was something that happened over the weekend too that I thought was weird. Maryland standing up against the expansion of the ICE warehouses. The ICE now, I guess, closing deals for the purchase of large properties and warehouses around the country to turn them into essentially concentration camps. And Maryland, I guess, was targeted with one of them and has quickly. I don't think they were taking my advice. Although when I saw it, I was like, you know what? Everybody should be rezoning these things and say, oh yeah, by the way, I forgot this warehouse is actually zoned for low income housing, for instance. But yeah, they not rezoned, but they basically have legislatively blocked this thing. As it turns out, the guy who was changing the rules on the fly is a guy by the name of Calvin Ball. I'm not even kidding. I thought you might like that. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Net Roots Radio. Yes, it's true. Calvin Ball, I'm not certain that it's true. A guy has said it on social media. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but let's go find out for sure. Calvin Ball, said to be the county executive in Howard County, Maryland. And is there an actual article linked to it here? No. Calvin Ball III, by the way, and or III, as we say here when the artificial intelligence reads it to you. Calvin Ball III, county executive of Howard County. But the post I have here is from Aaron Arcady. It's Arin, Arin, but I like Aaron, but I don't know whether you say it like Aaron. Arcady, who says, let's see. I'm trying to get the bio here, but it's not easily decipherable necessarily. But a writer on politics for sure. Let's see. But I think along like maybe an academic and book writer type, rather than say writer like Substack, for instance. But he's the one who noted this thing. I'm sorry, the guy changing the rules on the fly is named what? This a post on Blue Sky from Governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, who says, I stand with County Executive Calvin Ball as he signs emergency legislation today, and this was 2 days ago, prohibiting privately owned buildings from being used as ICE detention centers. So not a rezoning, but just a straight up, starting now, it's illegal for ICE to use privately owned buildings for detention centers. I don't know how that's supposed to work. I don't know if it gets struck down at some point, but just throw an obstacle in the way and make them sue. Why not? Howard County, he says, chose dignity, accountability, and its people. Tune in to our event now. I did not do that. That's what the link is here. But maybe there's a story about Calvin Ball in the news. There it is. Well, let's see. That's the Howard County government release about it. But we can use WBAL News Radio for that. Their local outlet. Howard County Executive Calvin Ball pushes emergency bill in fight against proposed ICE facility. Might as well update you on this. This is good news. Let me get the pop-up out of the way. Following a community meeting held Wednesday evening, Howard County Executive Calvin Ball continued to speak out against a potential ICE facility coming to the area through a privately owned office building by a Virginia company. That's a little bit confusing in the way things are worded, but I guess we all get the sense. Is it a Virginia company that owns the property in Maryland? That's fine. It does happen. Ball joined the C4. What is that? I don't know. But I guess it's a show on WBAL. Joined the C4 and Brian Naiman show on Thursday, the day afterwards, to further explain his and his community's opposition legally to the proposed ICE facility. And the quote is, "The proposed detention center in Howard County is an existing office park, and it's within a mile of an elementary school, a middle school, a golf course," and those are important to Trump, Ball explained, adding that his emergency legislation would prohibit the permitting of privately owned buildings operating as detention centers in Howard County. So I guess the basis of the objection there is if you are going to build a detention facility, and remember that the Trump administration maintains that the people that are being put there are the worst of the worst, all kinds of crazy criminals. Now, they're lying about all of that, and almost no one that they are detaining actually does have a criminal record. But, I mean, if you're going to run around saying this is where we're rounding up the worst of the worst, then wouldn't the local communities want to have some say in where you're holding them? You're going to bring the worst of the worst to our community, and you're going to put them in a makeshift prison that you converted out of an office building? No, I don't think I'm going to allow that. I don't know on what, whether that will hold up or not. Surely the Trump administration and its judges are convinced that, well, I don't know, the federal government, when we run the federal government, ought to be able to push around everybody, the states and the local governments, when we're in charge of the federal government and those people are in charge of the state and local government. When the shoe's on the other foot, of course, states' rights, as you know. In other words, Calvin Ball, the kind you're used to hearing about. Anyway, so Ball attempted to call out hypocrisy from the perception versus reality of ICE and the detention center. If the focus was exclusively on convicted criminals, like a lot of people think it should be, we wouldn't need as many detention facilities as is being purported, he said. Ball said he filed an emergency legislation on January 30th and added that the building owned by the Virginia company in question is not in compliance with state laws. Hopefully, because especially this is a private entity and not the federal government, we will be able to take the action that's best for the public safety, health, and welfare of our community, he added. So, again, he's the county executive, so I guess the county, I don't know how do they organize themselves in Maryland? We would have the board of supervisors here, but the county legislature, I guess, passing a new ordinance saying, you can't do this, and lo and behold, he signed it. So, we'll see whether it stands up, and it may be, though, that, they may have a hard time, the federal government, asserting federal government supremacy there, primacy, as against the county or the state, because this is actually a privately owned business, a building that they're just, I guess, leasing. They made a deal to lease it for this use. And I think that the courts will have a harder time finding the justification that would prevent the local government from restricting private businesses in the way they operate. I mean, I'm sure, they'll boo-hoo about property rights, and they might be able to just find an excuse. But it won't be simply, well, the federal government gets to do whatever it wants in the realm of immigration and federal detention. So, all right, they'll have to come up with another excuse. I found that interesting. And, of course, the name Calvin Ball just made it that much more interesting. In other news, I don't know. Rather than take an organized approach to things, we'll just talk about other things across the desk this morning. A big boo-hoo and a sad trombone for Blackwater founder Eric Prince, who it is alleged here in the, what am I reading here? The Kigali Daily News, I guess a Rwandan newspaper, has got this under their Democratic Republic of the Congo, the DR Congo crisis vertical. You know how some of our own publications do this too, like a continuing coverage of the DRC crisis, which would be of, I guess, closer and more provincial interest to the readers of the Kigali Daily News than it is necessarily to us, who's like worried about how many medals did we win in the skiing, or who got hurt, or what happened in the Super Bowl, or who's singing at the halftime of the Super Bowl. Right? Reports emerge claiming M23. I'm not sure what M23 is, or whether they say it as M23 or M23, but one of several rival factions vying for power at the point of a gun in the DRC. That's what established the crisis. But apparently M23 detained Blackwater founder Eric Prince in the eastern DRC. And what he was doing there, well, I was going to say, well, I don't know. But, I mean, we know he's bringing a mercenary army there because people are vying for power at gunpoint. And that's what he does for a living. So let's see. Who's our reporter here? Can we... Aisha Saxena Mandala. Okay, not too hard to pronounce. Thank you for covering the story in the Kigali Daily News. Here's a little picture of him. Eric Prince walking the streets of where? I don't know what city he's in, but I guess the story will tell me. In the DRC. Information continuing to emerge from Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. DRC claims that the M23 armed group has detained, and that could mean almost anything, detained Eric Prince, the American national known as the founder and former head of the private military company Blackwater. According to reports, Prince was allegedly arrested earlier this week in the city of, it says it's Uvira, U-V-I-R-A. Not certain how they handle the U at the start of this, but Uvira. All right. Sources say that when a coalition of forces fighting alongside the DRC government re-entered Uvira last month after M23 had withdrawn from the city, so obviously M23, an armed group standing in opposition to the government and its allies. So after they withdrew from the city, foreign mercenaries under Prince's leadership were among those accompanying the coalition. These mercenaries, have reportedly been seen for some time in ongoing fighting in the surrounding highland areas. The same sources allege that Prince was arrested at a hotel in the Muchepe area, it's M-U-C-H-E-P-E, together with soldiers assigned to his security before being taken to an undisclosed location. So he had security with him and everything. As of now, the AFC/M23 coalition has neither confirmed nor denied the reported detention of Eric Prince. When questioned by journalists on Friday about the claims, AFC/M23 deputy spokesperson Dr. Oscar Balinda said that the matter falls under the responsibility of the group's military spokesperson, Lieutenant Colonel Willie Ngoma. So, I don't know, is that like a no comment, I guess? I feel like maybe we should just take a minute to look up M23. And sometimes a designation like that makes me think, is that like March 23rd or May 23rd or something like that? And maybe they're named for, it's March. The March 23rd movement, I guess, if I've got the right entry here from Wikipedia. Just curious. The March 23rd movement, often abbreviated as M23, also known as the Congolese Revolutionary Army, That doesn't explain AFC, but we'll look at that one. It's that is Angolan fried chicken, I guess. AFC. I have no idea what it is, but maybe we'll find out. Well, it's a Congolese, Rwandan-backed rebel paramilitary group based in the eastern regions of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. It operates mainly in the provinces of, not too bad, North and South Kivu, Kivu, which border Uganda and Rwanda. And I wonder if that helps us. We do say are we anglicizing it by saying Uganda? And do they say Uganda? I'm not sure. I'd like to get it right in their local pronunciation if we can. M23 was established in 2012 by former members of the National Congress for the Defense of the People, or CNDP, a Rwandan-backed rebel group composed largely of Rwandan Congolese fighters. And really all we need to know at this point, gives us a sense of who they are, where they come from, and the confusion and nuances in the area. All we really need to know is that I guess Eric Prince got hired to bring whatever he's calling Blackwater now mercenaries to the picture to fight against them. And guess what? They got the drop on him. And I was just going to say, basically the real story here for us is, that must suck. Just walking down the street, minding your own business, and you get snatched up by armed thugs, taking you to detention facility somewhere under questionable authority. How terrible that must be for Eric Prince, and I'm sure he's suffering greatly, and we'll have zero empathy, of course, for the people that is happening to here in this country. If we saw this happening in another country, or perhaps even in this country, surely we would be, you get the picture. Anyway, couldn't happen to a nicer guy, I guess, although it is interesting. He probably thought it would never happen to him. And the idea of him being somebody getting the drop on his Blackwater guards and detaining him in a foreign country where we may or may not have any influence whatsoever, either with the government that he was working for or the rebels that he was fighting against. So I guess we'll just have to see what happens and whether money can buy his way out of that. Good luck to you. Anyhow, so other stories circulating this weekend. There are many, and I think I'm just as interested in thumbing through the Blue Sky feed as Instapaper, just because so much happened over the weekend. Not all of which made it all the way to Instapaper, but a couple of very interesting side notes. Maybe it is time, though, actually, to head over to Instapaper and see what I socked away there. Oh, yes, this was an interesting story that I thought probably deserved some attention. The Daily Beast reporting that, let me open this one up here. Military personnel are being pressured to see the Melania movie against their will. I mean, there's no other way to see the Melania movie, quite honestly. I was talking about it over the weekend, talking about it with my mom, just, the daily conversation, weekly conversation. But just the Melania movie, I don't really know who wants to see the thing, but they all want to, they boost ticket sales so that it doesn't look like Melania is incredibly unpopular. But she did it to herself. Making a movie about Melania is not a terrible idea. Even making it as a propaganda film isn't a particularly terrible idea. I mean, she is First Lady of the United States. But when I read that, it's a film about her life. Okay, well, she has had an interesting life. Oh, yeah, but we're only making it about 10 days in her life. And the least interesting 10 days you could possibly come up with. I guess maybe the last 10 days would have been maybe the less interesting than that. But the 10 days leading up to the second inauguration, the first inauguration, horrible, whatever, but that would have been an interesting time. Like, oh my God, we won, and now this thing is becoming real. How do I prepare for that? That might have been interesting. But the second inauguration, who cares? So it was really a documentary about her doing party planning and picking a dress. That does not interest me in the least. And you would think it would not interest the warfighters of America's armed forces. But apparently, they're a source of income, so now you got to pressure them. Military pressured to see Melania against their will. People are scared, it says here in the little subheader. A military group has evidence of troops being ordered into theater. The movie theater, that is. That's very funny. Jack Revell reports this from, end of last week? The 6th? So Friday, I guess. Thousands, it says, of active duty military personnel may have been, quote, pressured into seeing the Melania documentary at cinemas around the country, a watchdog has warned. And I mean, quite honestly, can you imagine, active duty military spending their weekends like, what I got to see is the Melania movie? It seemed like, there might be other choices. So to the extent that they're actually seeing the Melania movie, how many of those were going to really be voluntary? I would guess very few. The $75 million Amazon film opened last week to $7 million at the box office, despite universally terrible reviews. I guess they don't know how they even made the $7 million, but $7 million I think is generally considered to be a kind of a flop for that sort of expenditure, $75 million. According to the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, those numbers have been artificially inflated by pressure from MAGA-aligned officers leaning on their troops to buy tickets. I just can't even imagine that conversation. But anyway, people are scared. Mikey Weinstein, president and founder of the, what did we call it? The Military Religious Freedom Foundation. It's here as their acronym, which is just MRFF. MRF. Hey, Murph, what's going on? Weinstein said he has received letters from members of the U.S. military at 8 facilities worldwide complaining that their superiors encouraged or pressured them to see the film. He told Business Insider they were pressured to see the movie. Your military superior, that's not your shift manager at Taco Bell or Starbucks. They have complete and total control over you. The MRFF, a nonprofit founded in 2005 to promote the separation of church and state within the military, has roughly 100,000 members. Nobody that I know wanted to go except for those that did not want to get jacked up by our unit commander for not attending, one of those members told Weinstein in a letter seen by journalist Jonathan Larson. The unit commander in question is alleged to have worn red MAGA hats in the past and, quote, made it very clear, unquote, how he feels about those who do not support the administration's agenda. He is also alleged to have made seeing Melania count as one of the 3 unit activity events service members are required to attend each month. Such events are designed to promote bonds within combat units and their families. Remember, the warrior ethos that Pete Hegseth was bringing to the military. The letter said he, quote, advised our unit members and their families to join him and his wife and children for a showing of that new documentary called Melania at an off-base movie theater. It sure was off-base. They just showed that movie. That's pretty off-base. When he said advised, we all knew what that meant. We feel helpless to try to fight against what he's doing here. Weinstein said that manipulating troops to spend their leisure time on ideologically driven activities negatively affects unit cohesion, right? Isn't that the big worry all the time that the crazy hypocrites are always screaming about? But I guess not. Doesn't matter all of a sudden. In a statement to the Daily Beast, the Department of Defense, said that there, quote, is no Department of War, sick directive, and there is no Department of War either, requiring service members to see this film, though the film is fantastic. And it's not saying that there's a department directive requiring service members to see it. They're saying something quite different, so they're denying the thing that isn't being alleged. Trump has given the Department of Defense the secondary title Department of War, but cannot legally rename it. They helpfully tell us right here in the article. That's good. Amazon's extraordinary expenditure on the 100-minute film has made it one of the most expensive documentaries of all time. $35 million was spent on marketing alone, while $40 million was handed to Melania Trump's production company for the, quote, rights to use her image and likeness in the film. That could have been had for $0, I'm sure. Melania herself is expected to personally pocket $27 million from the Amazon deal, sparking claims that the entire project is, in fact, a massive bribe paid by Amazon boss Jeff Bezos to curry favor with the Trump family. With increased tariffs on Chinese goods, Amazon is facing potential $6.5 billion in operating losses from Trump's trade war with the Asian giant. The film's director, Brett Ratner, has denied that the film is a bribe, claiming that, quote, 3 of the best cinematographers in the world, unquote, worked on it. It has been reported that 2/3 of the people who worked on the film asked for their names to be removed from the credits. The movie is Ratner's first major project since being accused by several women of sexual assault. Oh my goodness, in 2017. He also appears in images released as part of the Epstein files, and a particularly creepy one, I think. The Rush Hour director has denied the claims and said he didn't know the late sex trafficking financier, but he did admit he was in a photograph with Epstein and told YouTuber Piers Morgan, YouTuber, all right, that's accurate, that the woman was his fiancée, whom he then said he could not name. She's Canadian. You wouldn't know her. Wow. His fiancée is 4 years old, ladies and gentlemen. This picture of that has Epstein and Ratner in it has the faces of the either very young women or possibly just girls who are in the photo with them. And it's a very telling body language type photo, by the way. The order of the photo, from our perspective, from left to right, is young blonde woman, possible teenage girl, Jeffrey Epstein, another young blonde woman, possibly girl, then Ratner. So they went girl, boy. And I'll tell you this. Both of the young women / girls in this photo are facing and putting their hands on Jeffrey Epstein. Brett Ratner is in this photo with the person that he says is his fiancée, though he will not give her name. And none of the women, girls in this photo are laying a hand on Ratner. They both have their hands on Epstein, and Ratner is like clinging to the outside of this photo. He's wrapping himself around this other young woman she's got her back to him, her hands on Epstein, and he's just sticking his head in there and cuddling up and grabbing her. And it doesn't look like a fiance. That's all I'm saying. And also, by the way, does not look like a woman of legal age, if I may say so. But there you have it. So I don't know. I thought movie directors, had better luck with the ladies ordinarily, but I guess it's just not universally true. And, what can I tell you? It's a sad commentary. His fiance would rather have her hands on Jeffrey Epstein than her new boyfriend / fiance, if any of that is true. I think that it might not be. Anywho, I just thought that was interesting. Another interesting angle on the Epstein story, the continuing Epstein story. Other information that we really need to get to. Oh, what's this? I have to check in on some of these things that Oh, yeah, that was just a good comment. We'll save that for later. More information about Trump RX. That's out there as well. Trump's prescription drug site exposed as a big fat scam, says the New Republic. I think, again, I'm reminded when I see this thing says, well, this is a long article. It's going to take you 15 minutes to get through. I don't think so. This is, again, I think we remember now that the New Republic is one of those continuous scroll things. Well, good, because that'll make what looked like it could be a very long story into a short one. Trump's prescription drug website exposed as a big fat scam. Lots of things are big and fat in Trump world. Trump RX is pretending like it's helping consumers more than it is. And I think we got to the bottom of this story, actually, when we talked about it last week, that essentially, first of all, it just ends up being like a Groupon site. It's the website itself says it offers all these discounts, but in fact, in order to get them, you're supposed to click out of the website and go to the manufacturer's websites, and they are making offers there. But if you watch as many pharmaceutical commercials on TV as I do, you know that these are things that the drug companies are already doing. The little disclaimer stuff at the end where they say, if you want to try, if you think this drug is right for you, but you can't afford it, contact us and we may have a program that'll help defray some of those costs. So they're already doing that. And the Trump RX thing is really just a compilation, an aggregator site, essentially, just like a lot of the news slop stuff is. They just aggregate all of the deals that these companies are offering in one place. I don't know whether they negotiate any of these deals anew, but apparently that's basically it. So you can go there and then be redirected to AstraZeneca or whoever. Hey, we'll offer you a coupon for this stuff. Now, it also turns out that if you get insurance, you may have a lower copay than these deals will actually offer you. So that ain't no help. Hi, everybody. It's me, David, still your host for the Kagro in the Morning Show after all these years. Thank you for all your continuing support for the show. And if you're listening regularly and still thinking about getting on board as a supporter, well, the time is now. Patreon.com is the easiest way to make recurring subscription-style payments every month, all year round, to keep us going. patreon.com/KagroX brings you to our page where you can sign up with your monthly support. And hey, have you seen our clever new subscription tiers? It's easier than ever to sign up for, say, $1 crisp bill for every information-packed 2-hour show. If you're the plan ahead type, there's even a year-long subscription program that saves you 15% on the cover price. Or it would if there was a cover price, or even a cover, for that matter. patreon.com/KAGROX. Thanks again for all your support. All right, welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. I think we kind of long story shorted that one pretty well, actually, and can move on. But thanks to Hafiz Rashid for reporting this for the New Republic. There's some additional detail there, but generally speaking, it's basically if you have insurance, there's apparently a warning on the site. The product pages on the website even say, if you have insurance, check your copay first. It may be even lower. So this is a site basically for people without insurance, and in many ways it's not much different from what is already, well, it's in no way is it different from what the manufacturers were already offering. It may have some new deals, or maybe new manufacturers are being brought in to offer hardship discounts for people, but the site itself doesn't leverage any of them, and you can't buy the drugs through the site. All right. And like I said, if you have seen these, the language in some of these pharmaceutical ads on TV, it's exactly what you have seen there. Somebody here says it's a embedded X post here. Trump RX lists it. What is it? Does it actually tell us what drug it is? No. But lists it for $51. But they don't actually sell it. Remember, there was something. What they do say in this cost of an inhaler. Trump's claim Thursday was that Trump RX will lower the cost of inhalers from $458 down to $51. In reality, clicking on the link on Trump RX redirects the user to the manufacturer's website to see if the buyer qualifies for hardship discounts. And if you don't, $458. The user points out these discounts are available regardless of whether Trump RX is involved. And Turnbull here, who is C. Turnbull 1968, tells us that Trump RX lists these inhalers at $51, but they don't actually sell it. You're redirected to the manufacturer's website to see if you qualify for a hardship discount being offered regardless of Trump. Smoke and mirrors as usual. There it is, and in fact, it is the AstraZeneca site. How it works, it says on their site, AstraZeneca manages direct patient orders through AstraZeneca Direct. AstraZeneca Direct will guide you through eligibility and offers delivery options. Then they give you the customer support number and hours if you have any questions, and that's basically it. And also, another ex-user points out, the lack of generic drugs on Trump RX makes prices higher than on prescription comparison sites like GoodRx. Like, because Trump RX negotiated or claims to have negotiated all these deals with the manufacturers, they don't go to generics manufacturers. They're selling only name brand drugs. So the prices are always going to remain higher no matter what, essentially. So anyway, big flop once again, but delivered as a major breakthrough last week. But it only took days for the whole thing to fall apart and be recognized for what it was. Other things, let's see. There's like a million different things to check in on. And I think really the next one has to be, what's up with Tulsi Gabbard and what the hell is she doing? Not just her strange appearance at the FBI raid in Fulton County, which, as I mentioned to you, and I'm sure I have an article about it somewhere, that the story has changed like 4 or 5 times about what was she doing there and who sent her. But now she's also wrapped up in a second controversy. Here are the earlier claims I've got. Where is this one from? Is this from? It was published at Alternet, but where did it originate? Was it their own piece? Written by Sarah K. Burris, who very frequently will write for Raw Story, I think. But Trump just blew up his own deputy AG's reasoning for Gabbard's Georgia raid appearance. Was last Thursday's story. Again, the Trump administration seemed very confused as to why DNI Gabbard was in Georgia for the FBI's raid on the Fulton County Election Hub and Operations Center late last month. The story has now changed 4 times and twice in the past 24 hours. The first to comment on Gabbard was Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, you know that name, who claimed that Gabbard just happened to be in Atlanta, although it was clear to me as he said it that he meant for it to be mistaken as she was in the neighborhood for some other reason and said, I better go help out. But in fact, he was saying, you're interested in the fact that she just happened to be there, but he wasn't claiming that she just happened to be there. It's just your assumption or somehow, I don't know. But he phrased it in a way that would be marginally deniable. Anyway, guess what? Everybody took it to mean that he thought we should believe that she just happened to be there by coincidence. Well, that was very quickly denied. Gabbard then said that Trump asked her personally to go to Atlanta for the raid. In a letter she sent to Mark Warner and Jim Himes, Gabbard wrote, my presence was requested by the president and executed under my broad statutory authority to coordinate, integrate, and analyze intelligence related to election security, including counterintelligence, foreign and other malign influence, and cybersecurity. By Wednesday, Trump appeared to forget about it. In a conversation with NBC Nightly News anchor Tom Lamas, does he say Lamas or Yamas? I mean, it's llamas like the animals, the spelling, but does he pronounce it with L's or not? And I see now why, like I said, why he goes by Tom rather than Thomas. Thomas Lamas? All right. Tom. Trump spoke about his conspiracy theory that he lost the 2020 election. Lamas, I don't know. He was the NBC Nightly News anchor. I would know if I watched NBC News, I guess. And he asked Trump point blank, why is Tulsi Gabbard there? I don't know, Trump answered. I don't know. But a lot of the cheating comes from, it's international cheating. Okay, so why isn't she going somewhere international? Reasons. Less than 24 hours later, Trump's story changed again. While he was speaking to the National Prayer Breakfast, Trump gushed over Gabbard for attending the raid. So that sort of lent legitimacy to the idea that maybe she did it to ingratiate herself. But if she was ordered, then she was ordered. She took a lot of heat 2 days ago because she went in at Pam's insistence, the president said, referring to Attorney General Pam Bondi. They say, why is she doing it? Because Pam wanted her to do it. And you know why? Because she's smart, Trump added, relayed by The Guardian. And I have the Guardian article here for us to read, too. And Pam asked her to do it, but she doesn't report to Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi has a very big department. The DNI is not in it. Georgia lawmakers are concerned about Trump's spreading of conspiracy theories and the purpose of the Fulton County raid. Everybody is. Georgia's Democratic lawmakers sent a letter to Bondi on Thursday morning asking for specifics. They're deeply concerned. I don't know if you know that. If the Trump administration is investigating a legitimate foreign intelligence nexus, it would legally require an immediate congressional briefing, said Senator Raphael Warnock and Representatives Lucy McBath and Nikema Williams, all Democrats from Georgia. The search warrant that demanded copies of the necessary documents didn't come from a local judge. According to lawmakers, unusually, the warrant was filed by the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Missouri and follows the reported firing of the Atlanta FBI special agent in charge, Paul Brown, after expressing concerns about this search. The Associated Press reported that Brown was ousted the week before the raid. He was overseeing the Atlanta office. MS Now confirmed in the days that followed that Brown was pushed out because he refused to cooperate. That is linked here, and we can read that story. Perhaps I'll open it up and we'll at least keep tabs on it. The group requested a briefing from the Department of Justice concerning this activity and its related investigation by February 13th, 2026. That's the end of the week, Friday. And then, of course, we'll have government shutdown on top of that, or partial. The statute of limitations on the case has long expired, so the only way the administration would be able to do anything about it is if there was some kind of ongoing conspiracy, said Georgia lawyer Michael J. Moore when speaking to CNN. So that was an interesting addition to our understanding. And I guess we'll also look at the Reuters story about it. Can I open that one up? Let's see. Exclusive. U.S. Spy Chief's Office investigated voting machines. Oh, I got to go back to the voting machines in Puerto Rico. This is a new angle on things. The February 4th story. Do I have the author right here? Phil Stewart, Aaron Blanco, and there's another name that got blocked. You got Jonathan Landay. You got blocked by the pop-up. You should be mad about that. Make it in your contract that your names can't be blocked by the pop-up, if you ask me. All right. A team working for President Donald Trump's spy chief, Tulsi Gabbard, last spring led an investigation to Puerto Rico's voting machines, said Gabbard's office and three sources familiar with the previously unreported events. And I'm surprised that he's even concerning himself with Puerto Rico in all of this, but so he is. The sources said their goal was to work with the FBI to investigate claims that Venezuela had hacked voting machines in Puerto Rico, specifically, I guess, but added the probe did not produce any clear evidence of Venezuelan interference. Wow. In the U.S. territories elections, Reuters first reported the investigation. By the way, I'm just going to check out. I'm curious about Trump's interest in this. So, like, what does it gain him? What does it gain anybody to manipulate the presidential vote in Puerto Rico? Does Puerto Rico have electoral college votes? I don't believe that they do, right? So, I mean, there are exceptions made in various instances, but I don't think Puerto Rico is one of them. And D.C. gets some electoral college votes as though it were a state, but Puerto Rico doesn't. So what would be the reason for, one, what would be his interest in investigating it? I guess he wants to thinks he can prove the Venezuela connection there, maybe because Spanish is being spoken in both. I don't know. But I mean, awfully dumb for Venezuela or anybody else to expend the effort to do this there, which they didn't because it's all a lie, if it doesn't even have electoral college votes. And of course, even if it did, what would it have? 3? All right. Well, the sources said the goal was to work with the FBI to investigate claims that Venezuela had hacked voting machines in Puerto Rico, but added the probe did not produce any clear evidence of this. The Reuters, let's see. I'm reading it in a weird format here. So Gabbard's office, in a statement to Reuters, confirmed the May investigation, but denied a link to Venezuela. Okay, that makes some sense. Saying its focus was on vulnerabilities in the island's electronic voting systems. Again, why might be a good question. Her team, I mean, it does determine the outcome of elections there, not the presidential, but okay. Her team took an unspecified number of Puerto Rico's voting machines and additional copies of data from the machines as part of its investigation. A spokesperson for Gabbard's office of the Director of National Intelligence said. Her office said taking of voting machines and data was, this is interesting, quote, standard practice in forensics analysis. I don't think anybody actually would agree that it's standard practice. I mean, if you were going to forensically analyze the voting machines, I suppose taking them into your possession would be standard practice, but it's not standard practice by any means for the DNI or any part of the federal government to seize them in order to do this. Noting similar voting infrastructure elsewhere in the United States, it added, ODNI found extremely concerning cybersecurity and operational deployment practices that pose a significant risk to U.S. elections. Venezuela's government did not respond to a request for comment. So I guess the claim that they're making is, no, it doesn't have anything to do with Venezuela. It's just that we think voting machines can be hacked in the United States, and the same voting machines are in use in Puerto Rico, and I guess we think nobody will bother us if we seize them from Puerto Rico, whereas everybody will make a big deal out of it if we seize them from Georgia. But then they did seize them from Georgia, so I don't know why. But I guess people would have at the time said, I'm sure, this is a dry run for maybe for Georgia, which now people are saying, well, this is a dry run for something else. I don't know how dry any of these things are. ODNI said some security gaps in voting machines used in Puerto Rico stemmed from their use of vulnerable cellular technology, and that software flaws existed that could give hackers access deep into vital electoral systems. The Puerto Rico operation appeared to be part of an effort by the Trump administration officials to pursue unproven allegations of voting fraud, the sources said. The preoccupation with voter fraud dates to Trump's re-election loss in 2020 and has not abated, said the sources, who spoke on condition of anonymity, and everybody knows why. Democratic leaders in Congress voiced alarm over Reuters' report on the Puerto Rico operation. Chuck Schumer, the top Democrat in the Senate, said the Trump administration was violating state and federal laws and the U.S. Constitution by seeking the election records. They're trying to intimidate local elected officials, Schumer told MS Now television on Thursday when asked about the Reuters story. What's most alarming here is that Director Gabbard's own team acknowledges there was no evidence of foreign interference, yet they seized voting machines and election data anyway, U.S. Senator Mark Warner, the top Dem on the Senate Intelligence Panel, said. Absent a foreign nexus, intelligence agencies have absolutely no lawful role in domestic election administration. This is exactly the kind of overreach Congress wrote the law to prevent, and it raises profound questions about whether our intelligence tools are being abused, Warner added. Quite true. Gabbard's appearance at an FBI raid of an election facility in Fulton County, Georgia last week highlights her direct involvement in these issues. Last week's FBI raid in Georgia, now 2 weeks ago, prompted alarm among some national security experts worried that Gabbard and the ODNI have overstepped their authority in investigating a sensitive domestic matter. Gabbard was not physically present during the operation in Puerto Rico, her office said, even though her agency took on a coordinating role in the investigation. U.S. officials involved in the Georgia investigation sought records related to the 2020 presidential election, as you know. Domestic election security matters are typically handled by law enforcement agencies, say current and former U.S. officials, not the nation's intelligence services. Gabbard's office said it had the authority to carry out the investigation. Given ODNI's broad statutory authority to coordinate, integrate, and analyze intelligence related to election security and our known work on understanding vulnerabilities to foreign and other malign interference, ODNI conducted an examination of electronic voting systems used in Puerto Rico's elections, the spokesperson said. Reuters sources said it was the unproven allegation of Venezuelan involvement in voting irregularities in the U.S. territory's elections that had raised questions about possible foreign interference, something Gabbard had the legal authority to investigate. But of course, now that they deny it had anything to do with that and say they found no such evidence, now you said that to wave them off, but that just makes it worse. The Caribbean islands residents are U.S. citizens but do not have voting representation in Congress and cannot vote in presidential general elections. Challenging the denials of Gabbard's office about Venezuela's role, 3 sources told Reuters that the FBI team involved in the Puerto Rico operation was probing the theory that Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro's government had hacked U.S. voting, an allegation that has strong support among some Trump supporters, but for which no evidence has surfaced publicly. The operation in Puerto Rico involved the FBI field office in southern Florida, whose agents were coordinating with a group overseen by Gabbard, investigating threats to election security, said 2 of the sources familiar with the operation. This group included U.S. national security officials, law enforcement agents, and government contractors, the sources said. Gabbard's office said the United States attorney in Puerto Rico, his team of Homeland Security investigation agents, and an FBI supervisory special agent facilitated the voluntary turnover of electronic voting hardware and software to ODNI for analysis. Voluntary? The U.S. military seized Maduro, meanwhile, in Caracas in January, removing him from power and brought him to New York to face drug trafficking charges, which he denies. Puerto Rico's elections have had irregularities, but no credible evidence has emerged to support allegations of Venezuelan attacks to influence voting there. We have had widely reported problems in election administration, but they're all attributable to incompetence and corruption, not foreign interference, said Pablo Jose Hernandez Rivera, a Democrat elected in 2024 to represent Puerto Rico in the U.S. House of Representatives in a non-voting capacity. That would be the resident commissioner of Puerto Rico. All right. Well, that's of some interest. I don't think we knew about that angle. And on top of all that, we have yet more. The Wall Street Journal, I think, was the first to report these, but I don't have the access that I've got to them. But everybody else followed up and joined in the pool as well. The Guardian has this version of the story just to catch us up from Saturday. Kate Brown over at The Guardian wrote, NSA detected foreign intelligence phone call about a person close to Trump. There's a whistleblower report about this. The whistleblower says that Tulsi Gabbard blocked the agency, I guess the inspector general there, from sharing this report and delivered it to the White House chief of staff instead of to, say, the Gang of Eight over there on Capitol Hill. How interesting. Last spring, I guess is when this happened, the National Security Agency flagged an unusual phone call. What kind of phone call? An unusual. That's unusual. That's true, and they did flag it, and that is actually quite usual for the NSA. But this phone call was between 2 members of foreign intelligence who discussed a person close to Donald Trump, according to a whistleblower's attorney who has been briefed on details of the call. The highly sensitive communique, which has roiled Washington over the past week, was brought to the attention of the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. But rather than allowing NSA officials to distribute the information further, Gabbard took a paper copy of the intelligence directly to Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, according to the whistleblower's attorney, Andrew Bakaj. I'm guessing at the pronunciation of Bakaj. One day after meeting Wiles, Gabbard told the NSA not to publish the intelligence report. Instead, she instructed NSA officials to transmit the highly classified details directly to her office, Bakaj said. Details of this exchange between Gabbard and the NSA were shared directly with The Guardian and have not been previously reported. So not even the Wall Street Journal has that one, nor has Wiles' receipt of the intelligence report. Those are all new details. On April 17th, the whistleblower contacted the Office of the Inspector General, alleging that Gabbard had blocked highly classified intelligence from routine dispatch, according to Bakaj, who has been briefed on details surrounding the highly sensitive phone call flagged by the NSA. The whistleblower filed a formal complaint about Gabbard's actions on May 21st, Bakaj said. The Guardian reported earlier on Saturday that the phone conversation was between a person associated with foreign intelligence and a person close to Trump. Based on Bakaj's recollection of the complaint, which he confirmed over multiple calls. However, after publication, Bakaj said he misspoke. Oh dear. He clarified his understanding of the complaint in a statement. The NSA picked up a phone call between two members of foreign intelligence involving someone close to the Trump White House, he said. The NSA does not monitor individuals without a reason. The person close to Trump is not understood to be an administration official or a special government employee, according to a person familiar with the matter. Bakaj said that members of the intelligence community are often referred to him for legal counsel because of his background and expertise. He previously served in the office of the Inspector General for the CIA. A press secretary for the Office of the Director of National Intelligence said to The Guardian in a statement, "This story is false. Every single action taken by DNI Gabbard was fully within her legal and statutory authority," though they're lying about that in the election context, "and these politically motivated attempts to manipulate highly classified information undermine the essential national security work being done by great Americans in the intelligence community every day." The DNI isn't one of them, but, other ones, I guess. Yeah, this is yet another attempt to distract from the fact that both a Biden-era and Trump-appointed intelligence community inspector general already found the allegations against DNI Gabbard baseless, the statement said. Did they? Because I don't remember them even asking any questions yet. But okay. For 8 months, the intelligence report has been kept under lock and key, even after the whistleblower pushed to disclose details to congressional intelligence committees. Acting Inspector General Tamara A. Johnson dismissed the complaint at the end of a 14-day review period, writing in a June 6th letter addressed to the whistleblower that the Inspector General could not determine if the allegations appear credible. The letter stipulated that the whistleblower could take their concerns to Congress only after receiving DNI guidance on how to proceed, given the highly sensitive nature of the complaint. But if the DNI is interested in blocking it, well, what kind of guidance are you going to get? The independence of the watchdog's office may be compromised, lawmakers have said, ever since Gabbard assigned one of her top advisors, Dennis Kirk, to work there on May 9th, 2 weeks after the whistleblower first made contact with the Inspector General's hotline. Gabbard's office issued a first public acknowledgement of the highly sensitive complaint in a letter addressed to lawmakers on Tuesday, 1 day after the Wall Street Journal reported on the classified brief. It was posted to the ODNI's X account, including claims that the Inspector General had not informed Gabbard of her obligations to transmit the complaint to Congress. Bakaj said that the ODNI's office cited various reasons for the delay in intelligence sharing, including the complaint's top-secret classification, the fall government shutdown, and the intelligence community's Inspector General's failure to notify Gabbard of her reporting requirements. 2 attorneys and 2 former intelligence professionals who reviewed details of the incident and ensuing complaint shared with The Guardian have identified what they believe are a series of procedural anomalies that raise questions about Gabbard's handling of national intelligence and the whistleblower disclosure, which was reported to the Inspector General as a matter of, quote, urgent concern. So you might, want to look up the procedures. Members of the Gang of Eight, a group of Senate and House leaders privy to classified information from the executive branch, received a heavily redacted version for review on Tuesday night. They have disagreed about the legality of Gabbard's conduct as well as the credibility of the whistleblower's complaint. 2 Republican lawmakers dismissed its credibility and backed Gabbard's conduct, including the Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton, who said in a statement on X that the DNI took the necessary steps to ensure the material was handled and transmitted appropriately in accordance with law. But Democrats have raised questions about that delay. The law is clear. When a whistleblower makes a complaint and wants to get it before Congress, the agency has 21 days to relay it, said Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, the senior Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, in a Thursday press conference. This whistleblower complaint was issued in May. We didn't receive it until February. Warner said that the months-long delay reflected an effort to bury the complaint. The contents of the whistleblower complaint are still largely unknown. Bakaj, the whistleblower's attorney, said that Gabbard's office had redacted much of the complaint that was released to the Intelligence Committee members on Tuesday, citing executive privilege. I don't know the contents of the complaint, but by exercising executive privilege, they're flagging that it involves presidential action, he said. And that's the only way that stuff happens. He's the only one entitled to invoke executive privilege. On February 3rd, Bakaj again requested guidance from Gabbard's office about how to share the whistleblower's full report while taking appropriate precautions. As you're well aware, our client's disclosure directly impacts our national security and the American people, Bakaj wrote. This means that our client's complete whistleblower disclosure must be transmitted to Congress and that we, as their counsel, speak with members and cleared staff. Bakaj said the DNI's office did not respond to his letter by Friday's deadline. He planned to contact members of the Senate and House Intelligence Committees on Monday, that's today, to schedule an unclassified briefing on Gabbard's conduct and the underlying intelligence concerns. Members of the Gang of Eight have contacted the NSA to request the underlying intelligence that the whistleblower says Gabbard blocked. Lawmakers can make routine requests for classified information directly from intelligence agencies such as the NSA. The request circumvents the ODNI's involvement, as well as the Office of the Inspector General. We'll see whether that route works. The leading Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, Stephen Lynch, wrote a letter to Acting Inspector General Johnson, I missed the acting, to warn her that the integrity of the watchdog office could be compromised by Kirk's May appointment to the group. Kirk first served in the Trump administration, the first one, and was a co-author of Project 2025. You may know it as a policy roadmap for restructuring the federal government. How do you like that? The appointment of a highly partisan advocate for prioritizing personal loyalty to President Trump above independence and professionalism in the federal government.
From netrootsradio.com.
And one who apparently answers to DNI Gabbard rather than to you.
Kagro in the morning with David Waldman.
Well, to put that person in a senior role within the Intelligence Community Inspector General's office raises troubling questions about the independence of the ICIG. Lynch wrote, yep, certainly does. We'll be following that one for days to come, I'm sure. For now, Justice Putnam brings you the West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Next, right here on Netroots Radio.